CVs, they're so boring, yet so important. How am I going to make these two pieces of paper say how amazing I am? I went to see some top employers to get their thoughts.
There are several things we're looking for in a good CV. First of all, making sure it's well presented and there are no spelling mistakes. You'd be surprised the number of CVs we receive with spelling mistakes in.
Obviously the content is important, but so is the way in which it appears on the page, and you can tell whether somebody has devoted enough thought to how that appears.
Just the basics, because if you see a CV with a spelling mistake or a poor format, you just don't even continue looking at it in many industries. So make sure it looks right, get someone else to check it.
Okay, so spelling and formatting. But what should I put in it?
You want to be able to look at a CV and get a picture of what that person's qualifications, what their experience and what their skills are. Without going into too much detail, you don't really want to wade through lots of detail because that's what the interview is about.
Less is more to a certain extent. If you think about the people actually receiving all the CVs and covering letters, lots to get through. Again, one of the tips is you just have to kind of think really carefully about every single word you put on your CV and covering letter and think about what that's telling the agency. And often it's the most concise, clear and focused applications that go furthest. What we definitely don't want to see is 7 pages of long CVs of all your work experience from dog walking and paper rounds through to your summer job in a cafe.
So it needs to be a snapshot of someone that you can look at and go, that sounds interesting, that sounds like a fairly good match with what we're after, therefore we'll take it to the next stage.
I would recommend that people be honest about the skills that they don't have and be honest about those that they do. And when highlighting the skills that they don't have, explain why they might not be on their resume right now, but that they actually want to learn them and that they see that the role that they're applying for is actually a great opportunity for them to learn with the organisation. I get so many CVs sent to me where you can blatantly tell that this person can't possibly have had the experience that they put on their CV. I'd rather someone be honest.
So take off that MD role. But if I don't big up my experience, how am I going to make people sit up and take notice of me?
A good CV is a CV that also gives an idea of somebody's personality.
Think about the thing that makes you different to the 2,000 other bits of paper that are going to hit our desks. What's going to make us kind of sit up and look at your application? One thing.
But it's generally just the way the application is phrased that makes you stand out from other applicants. And so we would expect there to be something in there, some spark that differentiates you from someone else.
I might get anything up to 1,000 CVs. So, and we read them all, So don't worry that therefore means you have to put yours in purple ink because it's the only way we'll notice it. It isn't, but remember, you've got 1,000 of them, and if it is just a kind of regurgitation of everything you've done at school since you were 11, fine, but I've got no sense of you, so I will probably move it away for somebody who seems more interesting.
Just to show that they're a well-rounded person and they have extracurricular activities on there. They might be interested in sport or cinema or travelling or something like that. That's quite important as well.
I am well-rounded. I go to the cinema all the time.
Everybody likes to go to the cinema, and you don't necessarily want to see that on your list of hobbies, so I think be quite selective in the way you present that.
Incidentally, we try not to use the word hobbies.
Oh, why's that?
It does have connotations to things which could be slightly obsessive-compulsive. Things like train spotting and stamp collecting, that sort of thing. So I try to steer away. Well, there's nothing wrong with them. The thing is, do you want them in your CV?
I know what's going to make me stand out.
Don't be frivolous, don't just do gags and decide that, won't it be hilarious if I carve all this on a stick of bamboo, because then you just go, well, that isn't, if to apply in the grad scheme, you're going to become a young businessman.
I think the most original CV I've ever seen was the one where a graphic designer had actually presented to me a CV in a cardboard sachet that was sealed on 3 sides, and it said on the outside, enclosed 1 CV, tear here. And you literally had to tear the sachet and open it and get the CV out. That would certainly stick in your mind.
Always be careful about just doing something because it's all about impact. It's not all about impact. Because Because sometimes you can go, yep, I've noticed that and I just think it's terrible, and push it away.
So I think this is coming together. Anything else I need to know?
The important thing is to try and tailor it to the industry you're going into. So, for example, if you were going to go into law, you'd probably need to be quite detail-oriented and analytical. If you were going to go into engineering, you might need to be a good problem solver. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
So it's about identifying the skills that that particular job requires,
Yes.
and then trying to ensure that I represent that I've got those in my CV.
That's right,
somewhere.
and try and tailor it to the industry you're going into and the specific role.
The other thing to say is that while CVs go with the format, they normally go out with a covering letter, and you need to give some sensible thought to that, and perhaps you can get a little bit more differentiation of yourself into that more easily than into the CV itself.
Now, the standard of accompanying letters is phenomenally poor, and that creates quite an easy way to kind of shake down most people's CVs, you know.
I don't necessarily want anything that's too quirky or too off the wall, but I'm just looking for a letter that brings that person to life in a bit more detail and really gives me a feel for the way they would be in the role.
Got it. The basics are covered, it's not an essay, it's oozing personality, paper not bamboo, and a covering letter. This is bound to get me through the front door.